This is the 2023 Hyundai Palisade, and just to give you a quick spec overview, this comes with a 3.8 liter V6 that puts out 291 horsepower, has an EPA estimated range of 19 city, 27 highway for a combined 22 mpg. And this model behind me is the limited. So this is the limited trim. It costs around 48K or a little north of 48K, and it comes with a lot of luxury features and a lot of technology features. But if that's a little bit too high for you and a little bit out of your price range, you might want to go to lower trims that are under 40K, and those being the SE and the SEL. However, if you do choose to go with those trims, I recommend that you go with the SEL because it has a nice mix of luxury and technology. So you can have the upgraded 12-inch infotainment screen as well as the driver assist package that comes with it. Now, stick around to the end of this video to find out why the Palisade is the hottest SUV on the market right now. So what's new for 2023? This Hyundai Palisade features a new 12-inch high-res infotainment display, redesigned steering wheel, heated third-row seats, and it's more boxy. And you can see that more so from the front and less so in the bike. But speaking of boxy, let's look at this grille. There's tons of boxes on this grille. If you look at it, this thing has like a 36 pack, if that's even possible, right? I wish I had a 36 pack. Anyway, down below this Hyundai sign, there is a front camera that you can use for parking. That comes in handy when you're pulling up to tight spaces and you think you may hit that wall just because this has a really high hood. And if you look at these lights here in the front, notice that these are not the headlights. These are actually the turn signals that are in the grille here. So it's a nice, cool, sleek design where it's an extension. Down below that, you have these vertical LED daytime running lights, and these are great because I think they look a lot cleaner than the old design where these were kind of coming around and going through the light fixture that was here before. And adjacent to that, you have the LED headlights, and these are very bright, and that's why Hyundai is able to put those down so far in the bumper. So I think that's pretty cool from a design standpoint. If I move back, lighting on the side view mirrors is pretty interesting as well. So instead of having like a little light strip, there's actually a C or a curvature type of thing that's there for the light signal. So that's pretty weird, but you know, do you, Hyundai. And then this vehicle also features quite a few silver accents or silver trim that's around there on the door handles as well as the roof rails, and it looks really nice. It gives it a good aesthetic as you walk around this vehicle. Mind you, it's not a sporty type of look. It doesn't have an aggressive look or anything like that. It just looks like a plain old regular family SUV from the outward appearance. Now, style-wise, the rear of this Palisade won't really wow you too much, and a couple things design-wise I don't like. So you have this lip right here that would block rain and all types of other weatherly things from hitting this window, but then you have this rear windshield wiper. I really don't like those. They're really kind of useless to me, but whatever, to each his own. If you like it, you like it. The lights back here haven't really changed too much from the old design, so I'd probably like to see those change a little bit more. But generally speaking, you have your brake lights here, you have your turn signal here, and then down below in the bumper you have your reverse lights, which I think is, you know, still a little bit of a weird place to put that, but all good. Other than that, you have this rear camera back here and these silver tipped tailpipes. Let's see how they sound though. And then once I use this key fob to pop this trunk, it's slow. Plenty of room back here. I'll talk a little bit more about that here in a second, but you have this cargo net. You can option that out and get that with the vehicle. I think it's really good to have. But the third row seats right now are folded down, so you see there's plenty of space back here. You can fold these down via a few buttons here on the side, and there's a bunch of cup holders back here. There's a bunch of USB charging ports back here, so whoever's gonna be riding back here in this third row seat is gonna have plenty of space, plenty of room, able to charge everything, plenty of places for their cups, storage, you name it. Easy access to get back here. And then you have those two captain chairs that are right up there. So I'll talk about those more once we actually get inside, so you can see me sit in those and you see what it looks like to actually be in there. But other than that, nothing really crazy to note back here, but this is a pretty spacious ride. You can fit a ton of stuff back here. Let's hop inside. All right, so before we hop inside this Palisade, I just want to point out there's a few different ways to get inside. The first way, which is the most traditional way, is unlocking the car via the key fob. Bam. Boom. Now you can get inside, doors open, I can get inside. The second option is just having the key fob on your person and then touching the door handle, and then that will open the door, and all you have to do is pop that open and go inside. And the third and final option is Blue Link. So Blue Link is an app on your phone, and if that's hooked up, you can essentially lock and unlock the vehicle remotely, and you can also start it remotely depending on what you have. And I heard that there's going to be some integrations with that coming soon, or I think they may already exist with Amazon Alexa and as well as Google Assistant, that you can interact with your car through those, and I think that's pretty dope. So let me open up this door real quick and talk about a couple things. So up on entry, the first thing that you're going to see is this kick plate that says Palisade. It has that good branding on there, and then there's a bunch of lines. Not sure what those are for, but they look kind of cool to me. And then you have the trim on the inside. It's kind of like a charcoal gray trim. It's like a flat look. It looks really nice, and I think it really complements the interior of this vehicle. You have some silver accents with the button controls on the window, and then you have your standard seat controls over here. Now, the thing that I'm going to ding this vehicle on is going to be the side cubby hole. There's not a lot of space in here. You can't fit really much in here. So I'll give you an example of something that you could probably fit in here. This is a little pure orange juice that fits in here. Can't go anywhere else but this little piece. So don't put anything in here, but I will say that this has ample space and storage area in the vehicle for you to leverage once you're actually inside. So I think, although this is a ding, I think the rest of the vehicle kind of makes up for it from a storage standpoint. Let's hop inside. All right, as we sit inside this Palisade, a few things I want to note are the seats as well as the newly redesigned steering wheel. But let's start off at the seats. So these seats are actually pretty comfortable for the most part, and they have a lumbar adjustment down below on the seat controls. Now, the lumbar support there, once you actually configure it, it feels a little bulky, and it feels like you have something really digging and pushing into your back, so it doesn't really feel as comfortable to me. So preferably, if I'm driving this car, even though I do like seats with lumbar support, I probably wouldn't use it. You may find it a little bit different as you're driving it, and that's totally fine. On the steering wheel, you have this really nice look. It has the standard steering wheel controls, standard audio controls. It has things like gapping, lane keeping assist, and all of those different drive mode settings that you can essentially configure there. And then this also links you to the settings on your digital dashboard that are very, I would say it's kind of customizable, but there's not really a ton that you can change there. So you can see your navigation menu, you can see various vehicle settings, you can also change the drive mode settings there. They're not actually done on the digital dash, but there is an animation as you're going through those different screens. Now, I will say that's a bit clunky in terms of the transitions, but once it's actually on the screen, so let's say sport mode or comfort mode or anything like that, it's pretty responsive when you're actually, you know, shifting gears or pressing the gas. You'll see the RPMs be pretty responsive as well as you're pressing the gas down. So no issues there. Additionally, on top of that, you have a heads-up display that is very clean. Now, this vehicle is giving you so much luxury for the price, and I think that's one of the reasons why this is going to be, or is actually, one of the hottest family SUVs on the market, and dare I say, one of the hottest SUVs on the market for the price, the luxury, and the amount of space and storage that you get in here. So I'll move on to the storage next. So I know I mentioned that earlier, that there wasn't a ton of cubby space that was there in the side doors or anything like that, but what that's kind of given birth to is all of the compartments that you see within. So there's a compartment here that's open right now, but if I close it, within that you have your wireless charging, you have your cup holders that you can kind of do a hideaway situation with those, so you can push a button and they'll pop out and they can fit a drink that you have here. Behind that, you have this center console storage here that has a ton of space and a couple of charging ports. There's a 12-volt charger as well as a USB-A charger in here as well. And then there's a USB-C charger within this particular area, so that's pretty cool. And then because there's no gearbox and it's a button shift, which I'll talk about that in a second, there's no gearbox, so that creates some room down below. So there's another storage area down below here, and then there's some charging options down there that you can use. So all around this car, I believe there's over 7 USB ports that you can use to charge. So no one in this vehicle should have a dead device on a road trip if you're riding around or anything like that. Now let's get back to the gearbox real quick. This one's particularly interesting because once you press the buttons, there's a standard park button, there's the reverse, there's neutral, there's drive. But if you were in drive and you were to press park, all of the buttons, neutral, reverse, and drive, are gonna light up until it gets back to park. Similar thing when you actually press the drive button, reverse and neutral, and then drive is gonna light up. So it's gonna give you that traditional feel as if you were actually shifting in a vehicle that actually had a gearbox, which I think is pretty weird, but to each his own. Moving on over to the right, there are a few more buttons. So there's the auto hold, which is my personal favorite, and then there's the auto on off button, some of the parking buttons, your 360 view camera you can toggle and configure by the press of a button here, and while you're in that menu you can see literally all around the car, the front, the back, the sides. There's also a button here on the screen that if you press that, you can kind of play around with moving the camera around the vehicle in more of like a 360 style of view. That's pretty interesting. I haven't really seen that really done much on most vehicles that I've driven to date, so I think that's pretty cool. Down below that infotainment screen, which I'll get back to in a moment, you have these buttons here that they have a matte finish. So I would say that if you're gonna be touching these or anything like that, you don't necessarily have to worry about leaving fingerprints because it has that nice matte finish. But there you have buttons like map, navigation, radio, media, audio controls, as well as some of your media mode buttons, as well as your volume button. So those are also there that you can take advantage of. Below that, you'll find your climate control buttons, and that's going to be for the front and rear climate controls. And then even further below that, you're going to have the heated and cool seats, the heated steering wheel settings. And mind you, I mentioned this earlier, this vehicle has heated rear seats in the 3rd row. Luxury. From a technology standpoint, one of the main highlights in this vehicle is the 12-inch high-resolution infotainment screen, which is compatible with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and boasts a few cool features that I'll get into here in a second. One cool thing that this vehicle also offers in the 2023 is a Wi-Fi hotspot that you can configure with your existing carriers, or you can pay for a subscription service through Hyundai to have that built in, so you can leverage that on your road trips or anything like that. So that's pretty cool. So the couple features that I want to talk about that are here outside of the ambient noises and kind of the car sounds and the things that are there to calm you. I feel like I talk about those a lot in the cars that do have those, but one cool thing about this is quiet mode. So quiet mode, what that does is, let's say you're on a road trip with your kids or you're with friends in the car and you still want to listen to some music or a podcast or whatever that is, you put on quiet mode and you can only hear music or audio out of the front speakers, and you'll hear nothing coming out of the rear speakers in the back. So basically it'll be relatively quiet for anyone that's sitting back there. The next feature that I really like is passenger talk, and passenger talk kind of reminds me of like the PA system on a school bus. So like, when the bad kids are in the back doing something and the bus driver's like, yo, knock it off, or what you doing? All right, so maybe if you went to private school, the bus driver didn't talk like that. But if you went to public school, the bus driver definitely talked like that. But for me, what I would use it for is if you got kids back there, if you got friends back there, you can literally look in the rear view mirror and turn on passenger talk and be like, hey, I know you're not eating in my car. And that works. I'll let you know how that sounds here in a second. All right, so this is me talking normally without passenger talk being on. But when I turn it on, it's going to sound like my voice is coming across the intercom. Now, I know y'all not back there eating in my Palisade. Now, if I find any crumbs back there, it's gonna definitely be one. Before we head to the back, one thing I want to point out really quickly is there are 2 sunroofs in here. So there's the sunroof that's right here above me, and I can use that for the front sunroof controls, and I can open this, I can close this, I can vent this vehicle with this sunroof. Now, as we get into the back, there's gonna be another sunroof, which I'll show you once we get back there, but that one only opens and it's just more of a skylight. So it just kind of gives you, it's not really panoramic, but it's big enough to kind of shed some light back there and give you a view out into the open world. So let's head to the back. All right, so before we hop in the back seat, couple things I want to point out real quick. So we got the cup holders right here. We got the Harman Kardon sound system. That sounds phenomenal, by the way. I forgot to mention that earlier, but yeah, you got that all around the vehicle. And then my most favorite thing back here is the hater blockers, aka the sunshade. So yeah, you can put those up, you know, block the sun from coming in. But I like to call them the header blockers because if you're that parent that comes and picks up your kid from school on time all the time and the other kids sitting there waiting and watching your kid hop in the car, they can just put them header blockers up like, hey, don't be looking at me, at least my parents on time. And they can just drive off with you. Header blockers. So once you hop inside, you got these captain seats, and these captain seats are pretty cool because they allow you to have some pretty easy access to the third row. And one cool thing I like about these captain seats is that they don't really get in the way. They can fold down multiple ways. So there's 3 ways to fold these seats and move them. So you can fold them flat by pressing this lever right here, and boom, that makes it fold flat. The second thing that you can do is you can press a button up top, and once you press that down, it's gonna release that seat. It's gonna move it forward so that way you can get easy access to the rear, that third row of seats. And then the last thing is there's another button down below. So let's say you have a toddler or a smaller child that wants to get into the back, or even a smaller adult that wants to get into the back, they can do so. And you know how they can do that? They can take their little finger and they go press this button right here, and they in the back. Now, as I sit in here, you can tell I got plenty of room, plenty of space. The seats are also configurable, right? So I can basically reach down here and I can move this forward if I want to. I can move it backward to where it's comfortable for me. I got plenty of space. Like I said, I'm 5'9", just for reference, if you're watching this video or watching my videos for the first time, just so you know. Additionally, there is some heated and cool seats back here. The controls are right here. So these are all the rear climate controls. So you can adjust the fan, you can literally adjust everything. There's more charging ports back here. So there's a 12 volt. There's also an AC 115 volt that you can plug in. Bam. Like I said, you shouldn't be losing any charge in here. To add to that, some craziness that they did was they have the USB-C ports in the seats. Did y'all see that? In the seats. You can plug into the seat and charge your stuff. That's dope. So you also have some storage that's kind of on the side. So there's some cargo netting on the side that you can put some stuff in. I don't know, maybe trash or gum or whatever. There's some behind the seat storage that you can use. There's also some little net storage back here as well that, you know, probably some gum or trash or whatever. And then again, there's not really much storage here on the side, so I think that you kind of have to leverage some of the other storage options within if you're gonna be sitting back here. Additionally, there's the vents that are above here as well, and those are gonna, you know, force that air down here, so it makes the climate control situation back here a lot more palatable. And then as I sit back, there's the smaller, or I'll say the bigger of the 2 sunroofs are back here that kind of service this row of seats, the second row of seats, as well as the third row of seats, so that way you can kind of look out. Like I said before, it doesn't vent or open or anything like that, but it is there to just essentially let some light in, so that's pretty cool. And you know, you got these little armrests as well that are adjustable. You can kind of put them away when you're not using them, or you can bring them back. And then, you know, the seats recline a little bit too, so you can chill. What? Let's go to the third row. So we back here kicking it in the third row of seats. Now, I will say this, the spacing back here is probably not the best for adults, but it could be good for a smaller person or children to ride back here. I can sit back here, you know, during like an Uber ride around town or going a short distance or something like that if a bunch of friends and I were in a car. But other than that, long road trips, hell no. I'm not sitting back here. I'm good on that. So one thing I will say that I do like about the seats back here is that you have so many different options. So again, you have the option for heated seats. The button is right here, right on the door. They're on both sides. So there's heated seat on the left, heated seat button on the right. Other cool thing, you got the USB-C charging ports back here. Again, your phone, your iPad, your devices should never ever die in this vehicle. You got anything that dies in this vehicle, you're careless, and yeah, I don't fool with you. Like, you just irresponsible at this point. But another cool thing is you have some seat buttons back here, and those adjust the seat, so you can move the seats forward, and I can sit more erect, have a good posture and all of that. But who really sits like that? If I'm gonna be sitting back here, recline me please. And this feels good. Like, I can chill back here, and like I said, short distances only, but I think this works for that. And then I got my vents, so if I ever get hot or if I ever get cold, I got nice air blowing on me back here, and I don't really have to bother anybody else. So yeah, I think design wise, this is dope, man. That's why people are buying this. This is why this is the hottest SUV on the market right now. This is why this is the hottest family SUV on the market right now, because you can do so many things, and they give you these little tastes of luxury all throughout this joint that you can really take advantage of. So that's one of the reasons why this is the hottest SUV, if you're really still asking yourself that question. So I think you should definitely have this on your radar, but we still got to drive it first. But another thing I want to talk about just really quickly is just some of the functionality with this back seat. So there's more things you can do with this. So there are a few buttons back here. You can actually fold this back seat all the way flat just by pressing a couple buttons back there. So there's buttons to electronically fold those down. While that's happening, I know you see these headrests that are back here. Once the seat gets to around, I would say a 45-degree angle, you'll start to see the headrest kind of pop down, and they'll tuck right in right behind these captain chairs. So I think that's a really cool design. And then the same thing goes for when it's coming back up. Now, mind you, you're going to have to put those up manually when they come back up, but it's something that can be done electronically from back there. Also, the reclining of the seats and everything. So I think that's pretty dope overall. So you have so much control in this vehicle as you sit back here. If you're operating from the trunk, or if you're actually sitting in the seat or anything like that, I think you just have tons of functionality and tons of flexibility in terms of how you configure the interior of this vehicle. Let's drive this thing. All right, so as I drive this Palisade, I will say that there's not a lot of cabin noise. I'm on the highway right now, and it sounds great in here. It's pretty quiet. There's no music on. I can hear a little bit of outside noise and people's music blaring from their cars, but that's a little normal, right? You're gonna get that with any vehicle that you drive. Additionally, from a steering standpoint, the steering wheel isn't super responsive, but it doesn't have a lot of play in it either. So I would say it's kind of right in the middle somewhere, where it's just, you know, it's just okay. I wouldn't say that there's anything about it, the handling of this, that really wows me. Cornering wise, it still feels very much like an SUV. It doesn't feel like it's sporty or anything like that, so don't go looking for that if that's what you think this is. And then speed wise and performance wise, you know, I can step on the gas and that's pretty much all you get. But hey, I'm in sport mode right now. That's what it gave me. This thing does 0 to 60 in, I think, less than 7 seconds or something like that. So again, this is what you're gonna have to expect with this vehicle. Technology wise, or driver assistance wise and safety wise, this has the lane keeping assist, lane departure warning, and it has active blind spot monitoring. But if there's a car in your blind spot and you try to, you know, change lanes or anything like that, this will kind of pull you back in the lane as well. So I know BMW also has that feature, which I think is pretty dope. And the heads-up display, I'm looking at it right now, it looks pretty dope. It tells me exactly where I'm going. It's not in the way, it's kind of down a little bit further, and it's not just kind of in your face, so you can kind of peer at it and then still drive and not have it essentially be a distraction while you're driving around. Other than that, the ride is pretty comfortable. It goes over bumps and handles potholes really well, and I think that if you're in the market for a family SUV or a SUV of this caliber, I think this is a viable option, and I think this is something you should definitely have on your radar. So I would say go check this out, go test drive it if you want to, but this gets my stamp of approval, aside from the few dings that I pointed out earlier in the video. But otherwise, I like this SUV, and now I can see why it's one of the hottest SUVs on the market.